My name's Pavitt Thatcher. I'm a trainee psychotherapist, and I'm going to talk a little bit today about my research and also the types of things that come up in therapy, the importance of addressing all parts of the patient, and a brief conclusion at the end. The psychology research that I did, there was a mixed methods study. There was a questionnaire, and the conclusion of that was that people with BFRBs had lower self-esteem, more shame, and less body compassion than the control group. But I also did a focus group, which was 10 people who were talking about their experiences of living with BFRBs. And here are some of the direct quotes from those people in the group. So these are their actual words. It completely defined me. I tried not to look at people straight in the eye. It was this absolute fear of being noticed. I saw myself as flawed, broken, not even human, like kind of subhuman compared to others. I'm disgusting, not approachable, ashamed of myself. I'm not a lovable human. I'm freakish. The idea of having to show any amount of skin is horrendous. Constantly adjusting my t-shirt to make sure the texture isn't visible. These tiny micro adjustments are built in as a structure to cope with the shame. My body is a reminder of stuff I've done wrong and I hate it. You can't shake off 27 years of in the closet self-hatred and self-doubt. I just don't think I can find anyone to love me. I'm clingy, I'm dependent, I'm paranoid. My sense of value has been tied to my body. My hair dictates my self-esteem. I'm detached from my body, and I think that's the only way I'm actually coping most of the time. I've robbed myself from joy. I'm very dissociated from my body, so I'm not connected to it. It's just the skin I wear that I destroy. So really powerful, heartbreaking stuff. So what do we do with this population of people that have BFRBs? Well, we have the comprehensive behavioural model. Our good friends overseas in the US, some are here today. I use this with my clients, and it is a CBT-based approach to treatment, which looks at 5 different modalities: the sensory, cognitive, affective, motor, and place. And we look at inputs, the triggers of our BFRBs, and we try and target some interventions in all these modalities to try and break the habit loop. So that's a CBT-based component of the work, which is specific to BFRBs. So what's next after CBT? We have this research, we have these quotes, people are suffering, they're unable to live life to the fullest. What comes up in psychodynamic therapy, and what are the links to how we experience our BFRB? So we all unconsciously repeat behavioural patterns in the present day, which we have learned from our early primitive primary caregiver relationship. And this psychodynamic therapy is based on Freud, Klein, Winnicott, and Bowlby, some great theorists, psychoanalysts. Primitive anxieties lead to primitive defenses, such as splitting or binary and black and white thinking. And these defenses create mental organizations in the psyche as to how we understand our internal and external world, which can lead to repression of trauma and resistance to working through it, can also lead to disintegration or unintegration of the parts of the self, which can lead to problematic attachment styles, disorganized, anxious, which can really impact a patient's unconscious internalizations and projections onto others of how they're feeling. So shame, secrecy, and guilt. And also anxiety, which is a huge component of BFRBs. Not always anxiety, because we know that when we're self-soothing, when we're happy, when we're watching TV, we can engage in BFRBs, but we can also engage when we're feeling anxious. So we really need to look at that. So anxiety will have us unconsciously try to control and manipulate a situation in order to attempt to make us feel better. We may be in fight or flight mode, whereby our sympathetic nervous system is activated, and we need to control as much as possible to feel safe. And this state of mind may lead to hypervigilance or scanning of an area or situation or person or scenario in an attempt to feel safe. So I guess my current research in psychotherapy is there a link to this hypervigilance and this scanning of the skin? Is there a link between the way BFRBs manifest and a patient's state of mind? So, for example, in a decision-making process, we may try and account for all eventualities, damage limitation, to mitigate our losses in any given scenario in order to control the outcome, which is basically overthinking. And the reason why I'm talking about this and bringing this up, really, is because all of this affects the severity and engagement in our BFRB. So while we're looking at CBT, which is really important, and neuroscience and all the great talks we've had this morning, if we're not okay with ourselves, and if we're not putting our boundaries down, if we're not being assertive, if we're people-pleasing, if we are not being true to ourselves, if we're repressing, if we're denying, if we have trauma, then the chances are that we're going to engage more in our BFRB. Okay, it may not be the cause. I don't think it is the cause, and I'm not here to talk about what the causes are, but the links between someone living their life to the full extent that they can and the BFRB. These things are really, really important to address. So unless we address all aspects of the patient, we'll only be working on the surface level behavior of the BFRB and not the deeper work of the self. You have to be okay within yourself in order to cope with any type of mental health. Whatever it is in the DSM, it's about coping with what you've got. According to me, this is just what I think. And I'm right, damn it. Okay. So this is a really good diagram. John Burnham and colleagues developed the acronym social graces to represent aspects of unconscious difference in beliefs, power, and lifestyle. We have a really good diagram. It's an example of all the things that we need not to just take into account and not as an add-on when we're looking at patients. There's a great paper by a paediatrician, Donald Winnicott, really famous psychoanalyst and paediatrician. And he talks about the location of culture. And actually, you know, this paper says it starts in utero. It starts from birth. When a baby is born, the environment they're born into, the house that they live in, the sounds, the smells, the tastes, the environment, where they grew up, what language they've learned. It's from birth. So diversity, yeah, it's great. And I know there is like a leveling up process going on, but we can't forget that an identity, someone's identity incorporates all these things: race, religion, age, appearance, class, education, all of these things. This is an important slide. Sorry, I'm a bit nervous. Okay. Yeah, so also this brings me to diversity and cultural issues. So as well as looking at all parts of the self or all parts of the patient, or all parts of the jigsaw, we need to understand that skin and hair means different things in different cultures, okay? And for example, me, I'm a Sikh and I'm not supposed to cut my hair. Guess what? I've got a trick, you know? And that hasn't had a huge impact on everything, how I see the world, all my relationships, literally everything, my working life, bringing up children, all sorts of things. So the meaning of skin and hair is going to be different, which means the way that a patient will experience their BFRB is going to be different, which means that we need to individualize, we need to explore, we need to talk, we need to be curious about our patients. in some African culture, I heard somebody say that their hair is their crown and glory. Sikhs aren't meant to cut their hair. Some Asian religions, they cut their hair sort of like on children cut their hair on an annual basis, and that's like a process, you know. So it's different. We need to kind of get to know our patient. This is a really quick talk, by the way. So in conclusion, we have the co-model. Thank you, Suzanne and John, who are here today from TLC, and everyone involved in the creation of the co-model, which is really important and CBT-based work specifically for BFRBs. On top of that, you know, we want to foster this relationship, this therapeutic alliance between therapist and patient to integrate all parts of the self, which basically means that a patient has all these different parts of themselves, parts they don't like, parts that they try and project and get rid of, parts that they love, you know, their good qualities, their strengths. They have all these different parts. And we're aiming towards integration. We're aiming towards self-acceptance. And I think the more we can move towards that, the more somebody will be okay with managing their BFRB, or a little more okay with managing it. So with the therapeutic alliance, we work to change the relationship the patient has with their BFRB. We work to develop the relationship the patient has with themselves, and we want to develop secure attachments and relationships with others. And we want each person to redefine their own recovery and what that means for the individual patient. On a personal note, I think that was a really quick talk. I haven't done this before. On a personal note, I just want to say thank you to everyone that helped put this conference together. I never thought that I would be up here talking to you guys after 30 years of suffering. And I'm really grateful that you gave me the opportunity to talk and to be able to give forward the tools that I've learned. I'm really happy to say that I love my life now. I really enjoy it, and I never in a million years thought that I'd say that. I wake up every day and I am grateful. I'm grateful for what I've learned. I'm grateful for the hardships, because it forced me to look at myself. It forced me to look at all parts of myself. It forced me, made me go to therapy. It made me look at all these things from quite a young age. And some people have a lifetime of never looking at themselves or being able to have someone hold up a mirror. So I'm incredibly grateful to all of you. And that's the end of my talk. So thank you.